This week I'm joined by Alain Dilworth, who's the Programme Manager with Made Smarter UK. Alain, could you give the listeners an insight into your background and experience and a bit about Made Smarter?
Yes, of course. Thank you very much for having me on. My background is in engineering and manufacturing. I spent the first 20 odd years of my life in various companies in an operational role within various sectors like defence, engineering, packaging, all these kind of things. So I learned an awful lot about manufacturing, and it's really close to my heart as a subject. And about 10 years ago, I got very interested in economic development and helping sort of companies progress and learn new stuff and adopt new things. And this led me into the world of Made Smarter, which is a pilot program we're running in the northwest of England. And its intention is to help businesses in the manufacturing sector adopt these new technologies to improve their processes and productivity and their competitiveness, and therefore their ability to export and innovate.
Excellent. And I know it's going to be interesting to a lot of the listeners being senior management and leadership, which is why we're talking about this, Alan. And the topic we're going to cover today is why do so many small and medium-sized manufacturers struggle to adopt new technology, which is the whole purpose of what you're doing. Could you give us an insight into that? Give us a wee intro into the topic then.
Sure. The Made Smarter pilot really is trying to break down some of the barriers that exist, and some of the kind of themes that have emerged within the program have been concern about where to start. How do we do this? It's a bit of a plunge into darkness for some companies. It can be disruptive, but the rewards at the end of that particular sort of time are good, and the productivity increases that we are beginning to see are substantial. I think a second reason is that companies are nervous about return on investment, and there's also an aspect to this of sort of an underinvestment in the UK generally in innovation, and a sort of perhaps a slight nervousness that's all kind of connected with this sort of, how do I do this thing? Because I don't understand the language. It's full of young people in very unfashionable clothing to me, and I don't know how to talk to them. I don't know how to really embrace this stuff. So please help. So the purpose of our pilot really is to try and make those connections and get folk to see the bigger picture and the opportunities that this sort of stuff can bring.
So it's more those type of opportunities that often, as a business owner or a leader, you might actually shy away from because it's not your thing, or it's not how the business has been run before. But actually, you do appreciate that there could be a value there. You just don't know how to go about it. Then it's a sort of opportunity to engage with someone like yourself with experience to kind of show them the light.
Exactly so. And I think, I don't think you can't fault people for being nervous about disrupting a model of their business, which is, ticking along. It's producing profits for them. Their shareholders are happy. But in other countries, innovation is sort of perhaps ahead of where we are in the UK, and this is potentially widening the gap still. And for us to be competitive as a nation, especially now we're probably drifting away from some of our closest neighbours in terms of economic links, we need to keep manufacturing in the UK competitive, and by improving productivity, that's one way of doing this. Clearly, there's opportunities for new products and new designs and different ways of approaching your market. And if you kind of digitize a lot of your processes, there's so much waste that you can take out of your systems, and that all feeds back into the bottom line. And there's a whole sort of circle of benefits there, really, that can be gained.
And Alan, what type of so just taking it back 2 steps, say what type of new technology could someone you touched on the looking at trends, so you can see trends. That's one way. So spotting gaps in opportunity within the marketplace. But what other ways could technology be used, which you've been associated with, or you've been involved in, manufacturing?
I think very recently within the current climate of COVID and lockdown, companies have been really working out how they can do business remotely. So there's a lot of tools that that the digital world has that facilitate this. Now, whether it's sensors on machines, as a factory quite close to us in Manchester that have the MD can literally look at his phone and see what all his machines are doing anywhere in the world. And there's quite a process industry, this particular company, but that's a clear example of just being that connectivity, really being able to give you an absolute hands-on view all the time, anywhere.
And I think we speak very general about manufacturing, but there's some specific sectors within manufacturing that are far more, adopting more technology than others. You know, if you take the automotive industry, for example, most of it's robotics. Most of this can be exactly as you said, where you can look at your phone, you can see all the data. Whilst you might have your, family-owned business that's based in, northwest England, that's been in the family for 4 generations and have got good cash in the bank. The turnover are 10, 12 million a year. But what they don't have is any technology to take them forward and the next steps. You get 2 different, there. Well, as we're touching on this, then what do you see as the barriers to adoption? So you've taken that sort of small family-owned business that have got the money to do it, they just don't know where to go, or they understand the benefits of it. But what's often the barriers to adoption?
I think the clear barrier that we the first thing we find when we go and talk to companies is that they have almost a preconceived idea about the I want a robot sort of philosophy, really. Yep. And when you start to talk to them about why they think a robot might be appropriate for their business, you start to unearth a little bit about how their business is, where their issues are, and actually, yes, a robot might be a solution for them, but not immediately. Before you do the robot thing, you have to do a lot of the more sort of basic architecture and infrastructure stuff around the data. Because I think it's fair to say that most manufacturing companies are very, very data rich, but data is only useful if you do something with it. Yeah. So I think probably a lot of us would be familiar with sort of clipboards on machines and people writing numbers in boxes every day, and that data gets put in a cupboard and filed. The digital world is very similar. All these sensors on machines will be producing masses of information, which will probably go and sit on a hard disk somewhere, and nobody ever analyzes it. So if you're able to sort of, step one, connect your business up together. So that kind of systems integration thing is a very big theme, and probably well over half of the work we're doing with businesses is on that. Almost step one on the ladder of digitalization is this systems integration. So getting your machines to talk to each other, making sure they speak the same machine language, because there's a selection of those available too. And you can find robots in the corners of factories with dust sheets because somebody doesn't know what to do with them when they've done the first job. And
I'm guessing, at the end of the day, a lot of people often think of this as well with regards to adopting new technology or artificial intelligence or gathering data, that it has to be a massive project. It has to be done all at one time, But the reality is, if you're in a factory, you could start off in a small area and prove the concept. Like, I don't know, a couple of machines with an engineer.
Absolutely.
Prove that concept, prove the return on investment on it. And then actually, once that's been there and you can see the results and the worthwhile, then actually what you can do is then invest and actually spread that out in the business. And what you've actually got is in a full view of how your business is running. You can make the right decisions in terms of investment. Quick one, Alan, just while it's in my head, because I'll end up forgetting, no doubt. So you're touching on robots there. So I've had to use robots for a perfect example. How much involvement do you have in that? Do you project manage from start to finish, i.e., what the company needs, how they do it, the sourcing of the robot, and the relationship there, and actually the delivery piece? How much do you get involved in that?
Our involvement, the kind of approach we take with a business, perhaps is the best way to answer that question. Once we have a sort of a contact, we'll go and talk to them about their business. We'll try to understand their problems and their issues, where they want to be. Look at their sort of their strategy, and as often as not, companies will have an idea they want to do digital, but it's not kind of embedded into their main strategy. There's no reason it should be separate. It's just a part of a strategy. So we'll work with them to develop a roadmap, for want of a better expression, and that roadmap, the first step may be do some lean stuff first in your factory, because digitizing waste is not an efficient use of the technology. So make sure all your data flows are there next, and then start to think, okay, well, let's say I'll put an additive machine in here, because I can make jigs with the additive machine that will help my process at relatively low cost compared to having jigs machined but somewhere else, and especially if they're sort of low use things. And then from that, then okay, maybe the next step is some process automation, or there's a journey that companies, and that journey will depend very much on what the company's doing. I mean, we're working with a company in Lancashire that do a very traditional company. They do sort of building products, and they have a very labor-intensive, hand-sculpted mold thing with surveys being carried out by folks with binoculars and things like that, looking at buildings. And we've introduced them the concept of the journey they can go along. First of all, let's think about not hand carving molds. Let's think about 3D printing them, because it's kind of a lot quicker. And 3D printing is not massively quick. It's not a mass production technique. Let's be honest. But we can digitize the mold printing, and then we're sort of saying, okay, well, when you bake products in the oven, how do you know when they're actually cooked? So we'll put sensors in your clay, why don't we? So you can actually see the temperature in the middle of it and know when it's ready. Instead of having some bloke on a windy wet hill with a pair of binoculars, why not send a drone up with a camera on it? All these little things, and all of that integrated in together is just a wonderful use of this technology for relatively little money, to be honest. So and the improvement they can make is phenomenal. The scope, they're very excited about this, and we actually have a student in there at the moment doing some work with them to sort of help them understand how this technology can be applied in their business.
I think that's the thing. It's not one size a shoe fits all as well. It's very much molded on that business. So that business owner, if you go back to that business owner that's got the family business, and he's wanting to grow it so that actually his or her daughter or son then takes over from the business in future and wants to build up that next level of legacy. It doesn't mean this is a matter of looking at what they do good existently, and actually automating that process, making that more efficient, making the information more clearer in terms of what is actually good. You think that's good, but is it really good? Is it working well for the business? No, this is highlighted straight away. You can tackle that, and you can make the changes needed. And then that capacity that might come out of that in terms of could be used for something that is making you money or making you good business or whatever it might be. So I think it's just about, I think you hit the nail on the head for me personally when you says at the end of the day, most manufacturing companies have a wealth of data. They've got a loads of data, and that's true. And I've been in places where they've got maintenance schedules on bits of paper, and it's books upon books upon books. Right? That's great, right? However, if all that information was computerized, which is the exact same, it's just rather than storing it paper-based, it's storing it digitally, and it can be protected so that actually if anything ever happened with that, it's got it covered elsewhere. That can all be done. But the reality is, what you can then do is a computer's far more smarter than an individual in terms of pulling all that together and putting it into an easy-to-use format where if you're a business leader, you can actually see it. If you're going on holiday and you really want to know what the uptime is of your machine or the downtime or whatever it might be, you can see that. And you can see the output, how many cakes you've just produced in the last hour. You can see all that. So actually, it gives you a wee bit of reassurance that everything's ticking away in the background or whatever.
Absolutely. I think most sort of manufacturing companies will have some measure of their productivity. Maybe it's overall machine efficiency measurements or on time in full for orders. There's umpteen sort of measures you can use, but as you absolutely correctly say, intelligently analysing the data you can get from a few sensors on a machine can give you, you know, information on PPM, preventative maintenance, scheduling, downtimes, overall efficiencies, volumes, all kinds of stuff, and it's just there for you, and you can put little tellies around the factory with displays on their little dashboards, so you can have it on an iPad wandering around as well. Other portable devices are available.
I think that's valuable. I think that's valuable because what coming out of the back of everything that's going on in the world, right? There's going to be some changes. Maybe not as quick in manufacturing, because manufacturing is manufacturing. You need people on site. You need to be making products. However, there will be certain roles that could be probably worked remotely. You know, for example, do you really need to go and visit Tesco every week or every second week? In terms of that, why not just do a video call? You know, and that'll become more prominent going forward. But the reality actually having all that at your fingertips as well comes back to actually if you've got that data, you can make the decisions quicker, faster, better. You know?
And informed decisions rather than perhaps gut feel decisions on many occasions as well.
Yeah, absolute black and white, and it's giving you that information. You know, and it's about coming back to the point I was actually getting to was you were mentioning about the data being on iPads and on screens, whatever, but that allows the workforce to be connected as well, because the workforce can see exactly what's going on, what the goal is. You know, if they're looking to produce 5,000 cakes, you know, today, you know, how I know this is pretty common in terms of having that sort of basic view, but you know, you can go right into detail, and if people have got that in their fingertips, if a production manager has got that in their fingertips, then actually what they can do is far more productive team meetings in the morning or during the day, where that's going to increase productivity, it's going to drive staff engagement. But what we've kind of talked about, Alan, sorry for rambling on here, but what we've kind of talked about that sort of, once I'm away, I'm away. What we've talked about in the last sort of 5 minutes is the fact of having data that's already in a business and it allows you to kind of improve the processes. But also, you did touch on at the start, there is ways to use technology to spot new opportunities commercially. You know, spot gaps, spot trends, be able to increase your market share and wherever you want it to be, but you're able to do it faster, better, more, with a better judgment, you know.
Yeah. Informed decision making, it's absolutely so. You know, we're some of the clients we work with are very niche manufacturing businesses, and we're not talking about. Yes, we do some work with food factories. We do some work with you know what people would call metal bashing factories, and that's the work we've done in those sort of places was really around connecting up their machines, which allows them to do sort of better scheduling of work because they know where you can run simulations within your factory to see where you know the impact of putting this job on this machine here would be down the line for your best customer's order, which clearly you want to have as a priority.
Right.
But we also do stuff with some really left field companies that are working with enzymes and things.
Sorry for jumping there, Alan, because I'll end up,
you
know what I'm like, I'll end up getting off track again. But you touched on actually having data. Do you want to know what? I think that's valuable as well, because it's not all about spotting trends. It's not all about knowing what's going on in your business, but what you're actually able to have is data that you could show a customer. And you can actually show your customer, our uptime is X, Y, and Z. Our productivity is X, Y, and Z. This is our available capacity where we can handle another £5 million of business. We can handle that. So actually what you're able to do is actually use that as a tool to drive that current customer relationship as well.
Very much so. And a lot of the kind of the large companies will have systems in place where customers can actually interrogate the factory's own production system. They'll have limited access. They'll be able to see stocks. They'll be able to see, you know, an amount of the schedule, not all of it clearly because it's commercially sensitive. But it depends on your level of sophistication. And also you need to bear in mind once you've got an open point of access, you've got to be thinking about cybersecurity as well. And that's a very big issue. The average cost of cybercrime is about 200K per event with a business. which is about 10 times what the cost of a good solution is. So, it's well worth looking at this as a serious thing when you get into this technology, and it's something that we try to talk to all our clients about as well.
Yeah, and I think that's very, very relevant in terms of, I've seen a couple of things today about, I think it was the construction companies that are building the hospitals. There have been 2 cyber attacks on them in terms of, that's terrible, but it just shows you, anything, there's no holds barred there in terms of that. And I think it's just about, if you've got the right systems, you've got the right person who's guiding you doing that, they'll be able to make sure you're as protected as possible. And also, you can look at your insurance. I know I've got it for my business because my business is all automated and it's all on the virtual. It's all on the cloud. Everything that I do, and through your insurance, you can get cyber security protection as well. I'm sure it's covered on that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
we've not talked much about visualization, I think, which is this virtual world, and we've done a fair amount of work with virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality. There's all these sort of components that can be used, and more so nowadays in the situation where people aren't going to be able to get back to work as normal for some time. And the VR sets can help with training, can help with design. You can use them easily across across the internet. The systems where, for example, say you've got a breakdown in your factory and you've got your headset on, and a little iPad, for want of a better word, in your hand, and you can talk to somebody in America, and he can actually draw on your iPad, which will appear on your visor, so you can actually see. So right, that screw over there, just loosen that thread off a bit, close that valve down, do this. Now switch it on again and see if it's working. Absolutely amazing stuff, and again, not expensive. It's the technology is expensive. Some of it is. If you want to buy a big robot, that's hundreds of thousands of quid. But for a few sensors and whatever on a machine, it's 1,000, 2,000 quid. Very, very, very affordable.
And considering time and cost of, and I think a lot of that stuff. Just sideways tracking a little bit here, because I think this is something that just popped into my head. A lot of people think technology, robots, artificial intelligence, whatever it might be, industry 4.0, it's all going to be about losing jobs and losing people, and it's all going to be, the factory's going to be run by 10 people, and do you want to know what? It wouldn't be far from that, really, in terms of that. But at the end of the day, there's always a need for skill sets, and those skill sets, rather than that person being the person that puts greaseproof paper in a cake tray to make it, that person's role could be replaced by some sort of robot. But the reality is that person can then be upskilled to do something else within the factory. Absolutely.
What has been really interesting is that we found with doing these projects with businesses that in very, very rare occasions that we say, well, actually, this might put a couple of people out of work, the vast, vast majority of our clients are saying, actually, if we do this, we're going to up our production, we're going to need more people, not less.
Yeah.
And the ones that have their jobs, that are being replaced by digital technology, they're doing other things which are perhaps more interesting, more stimulating than sitting there moving bits of paper around, as you were just saying, on a baking tray.
Exactly. No, good. And Alan, taking so one of the big things is, all this sounds great, right? And everybody who's MD would be interested in this in some shape or form, because what it is, it's natural development of their business. But as we both know, and as we all know who's listening, this all comes down to cost. I think a lot of people don't, I think more importantly, it's probably more what's the return on investment on these things. And could you give us a wee bit of an insight into that? No cost as anything, because that will vary depending on the business, the project, what they're looking to do. But what's the sort of typical return on investment?
Typically, we're seeing companies, sub 1 year, 8 months, 6 months, depending on exactly what the project is and where the impact is in the factory. So it's a very, very quick return. And talking sort of averages here. So as you say, each company is very individual and they're different. The average project we're seeing is about 80k. And the way our program is structured is that we can give 20k grant support towards this.
Yeah.
So that really helps de-risking it financially for the business. And it's just really encouraging to see the way that people are actually, despite all the kind of noises off and risks and everything, they're still embracing this and trying it. And once we're able to really show them the opportunity, then they are really going for it and taking that plunge and being willing to be helped. And I think that's the really encouraging bit for me, that the UK, we're good at invention, we're good at creativity, but sometimes you need a little bit of a spark to commercialize it in a way that perhaps hasn't happened so well in the past.
Yeah, and I think that is, as you said, I think that's just UK in general, in any type of sector. Everybody's got great ideas and great vision, but it's the execution that often fails.
Yes.
And it's the execution that's often looked back on and regretted, that they didn't do it, or they had that idea.
Yeah.
It's always the same, right? It doesn't matter. It's the same within recruitment. Trust me, I've had calls with recruiters in the last 2 days than I've ever had in my life, because of everything that's going on. It's been really interesting, because everybody has always had these great ideas and they just don't follow through, because I've always done automation and driven process. Anyway, okay. Alan, so if I'm a senior leader, manager, and I'm thinking, do you want to know what? I quite enjoyed that. I quite enjoy listening to that. I'm open-minded to having a chat to see if there's any legs in it and stuff like that. How would people get in touch with you?
I think that the simplest way for anybody is just to visit the Made Smarter website. As I said at the start, the Made Smarter pilot is in the northwest of England.
Yeah.
However, there is a plan to roll this out, and that will be coming hopefully very soon. So what we're doing is we are sort of collecting information, obviously for people that we are able to work with, but also for people that the program will be able to work with in the future. So if you're not in the northwest of England, please get in touch anyway.
Yeah.
Let us know your details. If nothing else, you can pick up our newsletters. You can look at, there's a lot of information on our website. There's loads of case studies. We're adding to this all the time. We're trying to keep them varied so they're not the same thing over again. So there's a lot of knowledge on there that you can look at, and we'll be expanding the knowledge bank as we go. So come and visit us, please, and express your interest, and we will get in touch, or we'll make sure you're in touch with somebody in your area that will be able to give you some knowledge and advice about when it might be coming to you.
Yeah, and I think the initiative's fantastic. I've had a bit of interaction with yourself and a couple of the colleagues within Made Smarter over the last couple of weeks and run up to this show. And from everything I've seen, very professional. I think it's a no-brainer in terms of you guys are doing this day in, day out, and it's and engaging with somebody like yourself just for a bit of soundboard. The idea might grow arms and legs, but the reality is, if a company was looking to do this themselves, often it takes a lot longer. The fact that you touched on grant opportunities, just the knowledge of just that basically is worth its weight in gold, as well as off the back it is the knowledge of yourself where you're able to be a sound benchmark, give the right advice, make sure that the teething problems are looked after, and make sure that whatever's implemented into a business or a factory is effective and is tailored to that specific business. And that business owner looks at the end of that process and think that was bloody great, and I've got some good results out of the back of that, and going forward my business is in good shape for growth.
I think so. I mean, it's a really rewarding program to be part of. I mean, not only because it's my main passion is manufacturing, which is added bonus really, but the fact that we can support companies financially, we can also fund student placements with them. We have a subsidized leadership management course, which is not sort of leadership management, it's how to lead companies in technology implementation.
Yeah, okay.
So it's a very sort of niche thing that's focused on how do you do this, and part of our sort of digital roadmap process we go through, we can say to you, okay, you really perhaps want to send Joe on this course because he really benefit from having this knowledge, or perhaps ask the local university to provide some students, which we will pay for, to come and work in your business and help you if nothing else, demystify all this weird language that you'll hear.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, the whole purpose is we've got a solid, stable business. This is an opportunity to embrace technology as it is. It's not reinventing the wheel. It's allowing you to collate the information you've already got or the processes you already do to be more productive, more effective, which is in turn will allow you to grow your business. And more importantly, that's going to add value to the economy in terms of recruitment. Headcount would go up as your business grows. So a lot of positives for that. But at the end of the day, let's be honest, Alan, not everybody will do this. They won't. They won't. And if you look at it historically, those companies probably more prominent as of the last couple of months. Those companies are going to get left behind. And I've been banging this drum for 5 years in terms of ever since I read a book. I can't remember what it's called. I've got it somewhere. Robot or something. Hold on, let's see. Actually, it could be an absolute golden nugget. Where is it? Oh, too many books now. Nah, sorry, Alan. I've got a full. I can't see it, but it was a book that set me off on that. Anyway, we're rambling. Alan, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. I appreciate it. And just finishing up, Alan, what's the Made Smarter website? What's the address?
It's www.madesmarter.org.
Awesome. Thank you. Cheers, Alan.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure.